After my wife expressed that I was no longer fun and proposed a trial separation, I agreed and began the meticulous process of disentangling our lives. Several weeks later, her newfound independence brought about a wave of panic. As a 42-year-old male data analyst, my world revolves around logic, deciphering complex patterns, and forecasting calculated outcomes, providing me with a sense of solace and predictability. My wife, Kelly, aged 38, previously echoed these sentiments. For 15 years, she relied on me as her cornerstone, referring to me as her rock. I was the provider, the supporter, the one who maintained the steady and predictable rhythm of our life while she explored various fleeting interests. Initially, it was an unprofitable pottery venture followed by a stint as a part-time yoga instructor. I handled the financial responsibilities, managed investments, and ensured we had proper health coverage. I saw our relationship as a collaborative partnership. I built the foundation, and she navigated the changing tides. However, during a recent conversation in our living room, carefully decorated with calming neutral tones by Kelly last year, she communicated that she viewed our relationship as confining. She couldn't bring herself to meet my gaze. Instead of focusing on a decorative vase that cost more than my first car, Peter, she started, her voice adopting the soft therapeutic cadence that always signaled an incoming emotional missile. I need some space. I feel like I'm losing myself. I didn't respond. I waited. The preamble is for the speaker's comfort, not the listener's. For a good man, she continued, a verbal pat on the head. A wonderful provider, but you're not fun anymore. We're not fun. Everything is so planned, so safe. I need to feel alive again. I need to find my own path. I stared at the expensive, non-structural wooden beam she'd insisted we install over the media center. It had cost me my entire annual bonus. A monument to aesthetics over function. In that moment, watching her talk about fun in the very lap of the security I'd spent my adult life building, something didn't break in me, calcified. All the little dissonant data points, the secretive, giggly texting at all hours, the new expensive workout clothes from brands I'd never heard of. Have you ever experienced a sudden and strong admiration for a spiritual guru named Zachary, who also doubles as your new tennis partner? Everything seemed to fall into place perfectly like a linear regression on a scatter plot. The outcome was glaringly clear and utterly heartbreaking. I gazed at her, truly seeing her as if it was the first time in years, her expensive $200 leggings, the fresh manicure on the hand that had been ringless for the past 2 weeks because it disrupted her energy flow. She anticipated me to plead, to promise more excitement, to plan a getaway to Bali, to transform into someone I'm not. Completed, uttered. The word felt like a heavy stone dropped into a tranquil pond. It was not the response she had scripted for. Her forehead creased in confusion. Completed? Just like that, you won't even fight for us? You just mentioned wanting a trial separation, I retorted, my tone chillingly steady. I'm agreeing to your conditions. This is what you desire. You should be content. Well, yes, but she appeared flustered, akin to an actor whose scene partner had skipped to the final monologue. Okay, everything is fine. I'm going to start packing. While she went upstairs, I stayed behind. I could hear the sounds of drawers being opened and closed as my life was being unpacked. In that moment, a surge of intense anger washed over me. I desired to smash that ridiculous vase against the wall. Soon after, a wave of profound sadness engulfed me. I thought about the woman I married, the one who was delighted to share cheap pizza with me on the floor of our first small apartment. Where did she disappear to? I allowed myself to experience all the emotions for an hour, the fury, the sorrow. I let them wash over me and then I let them go. What remained was a clear, unwavering determination. This wasn't a test, it was an unexpected situation, and I refused to be a victim of it. I reached for my phone, my thoughts were already in motion. Separation is a legal process. It has rules, it has implications. She desired a new life. I would assist in creating its true beginning. Instead of calling the bank first, I dialed a highly recommended family law attorney named Victoria. I reached her voicemail, left a brief message, and awaited a response. 30 minutes later, I found myself in Victoria's office the next morning after a sleepless night, arranging a consultation. I detailed the situation, and she listened attentively with a neutral expression. Upon hearing me out, she provided me with strategic advice focused on safeguarding myself rather than seeking retaliation. Victoria emphasized the importance of the separation moment from a legal standpoint, stressing that my actions going forward should be transparent and justifiable. Following her guidance, I spent the remainder of that day making careful and deliberate financial moves. I established a new individual checking account as recommended, ensuring not to completely empty the joint account to avoid appearing manipulative. Instead, I left a substantial balance of $4,000 in the existing account as a transitional cushion. I then transferred the remaining funds, which were my personal savings, to the new secure account. To solidify this change, I updated my direct deposit information with HR to divert all future paychecks to the new account. Lastly, I meticulously documented the time and date of each transaction. After our legal separation, I became the primary holder of our main credit card, with Kelly as a supplementary user. Upon notifying the credit card company of our separation, I deactivated her card and took on the responsibility of the $8,000 outstanding balance. Updating my marital status to legally separated on my employer's HR portal qualified as a life event, leading to the termination of spousal benefits for Kelly by the end of the month. With her last 15 days of coverage remaining, the system indicated that information on COVRA continuation coverage would be sent to our residents within 10 business days. This was crucial for Kelly's access to her expensive Maxalt prescription for chronic migraines, which costs over $600 per month out of pocket. During her visit on Saturday to collect more of her belongings, she appeared to be. Isaac approached the situation like a thrilling expedition, saying, "I hope you're not feeling too isolated in this large old house." With a sympathetic smile, I responded, "I'm managing just fine." Then, seizing the moment, I shared, "By the way, I've initiated the formal process. Wanted to keep you informed." Puzzled, she asked, "What process?" Her attention briefly diverted by her phone. "The separation process," I clarified, mentioning lawyers and legal matters. "You may need to consult one." She chuckled dismissively. "Oh, Peter, always so dramatic. It's just a temporary difficulty. Let's touch base in a few weeks." Unaware that the solid ground beneath her feet was shifting, she assumed the status quo would endure while she wandered off on her expedition. Presumption was mistaken. Fast forward 5 days, the initial tremors of reality struck. Predictably, it was triggered by a declined credit card. On Wednesday, a text came through from Kelly. "Hey, my card got declined at Lululemon. The cashier was really unpleasant about it. Can you contact them? I think their system is malfunctioning." In response, I conveyed, "There's no technical issue. I terminated your supplementary card last week. Remember, Kelly, we are now separated. Our financial matters are independent." "Peter, what have you done now?" "I needed that outfit and you didn't even talk to me about it. I did tell you that I was starting the legal process, and this is part of it. You can use the debit card for now." The 3 dots on her message bubble appeared and disappeared as she likely checked the balance of the old account. The $4,000 buffer seemed to have prevented immediate panic, but the message was clear. The flow of cash had been stopped. The main event, the significant blow, occurred this morning. The doorbell rang at 9 o'clock a.m. on Saturday. Kelly appeared with her mother, Joyce, for backup. Joyce is convinced that Kelly's desires are commands from a higher power, and that I exist solely to finance them. "Peter, you need to explain this," Joyce demanded as she entered my foyer. Behind her, Kelly stood with crossed arms, emanating self-righteous anger. "Canceled her credit card. You trying to embarrass her?" "I am setting financial boundaries." As we proceeded with the legal separation, I explained calmly. Kelly's reaction was emotional as she said, "Standard procedure. This isn't a business merger. This is my life. You're trying to control me, to punish me for wanting more than this boring, predictable life." Maintaining my composure, I clarified, "I'm not punishing you. I'm simply granting your request for a different life and allowing you to forge your own path." I pointed out the reality that the predictable life she deemed boring also provided for everything. I paused before moving on to a critical detail. On the note of logistics, I directed towards Kelly. "I must inform you formally. I have notified my employer about our separation. Therefore, your access to my health, dental, and vision insurance will cease at the end of this month, which is in 10 days. You will be receiving a COVRA packet in the mail with instructions on how to continue. Knew the coverage at your own expense." The color drained from Kelly's face. Joyce just looked confused. "What does that mean?" Joyce asked. Kelly answered, her voice a strangled whisper, "My migraine prescription, Peter. They told me it's over $600 a month without your insurance." "That's correct," I confirmed. "But you'll need to budget for that. The Cobra premium for the full plan will likely be around $900 a month." Joyce gasped. "That's monstrous. Can't do that to her. She has a medical condition. She's a 38-year-old adult who has chosen to separate from the husband who provided her insurance," I stated, choosing to be drawn into hysterics. "This is a natural consequence. She wanted to find her own way. This is Wayfinding 101. This isn't you, Peter. You're being cruel, Kelly cried, tears of rage and panic welling in her eyes. I'm going to call a lawyer. You'll be hearing from them. I would expect nothing less, I said. I've already retained counsel myself. Her name is Victoria. The fact that I already had a lawyer that I was. UPAT. I stood ahead of her by 2 steps, which visibly shocked her more than anything else. She gazed at me, clearly bewildered, trying to make sense of the familiar rock she had left behind and the composed stranger now in front of her. Hastily grabbing her mother's arm, she hastily exited the scene. And so, the battle has commenced. In recent developments, the initial clashes have transitioned into the methodical legal procedures. True to her word, Kelly's attorney reached out to me approximately 2 weeks after our encounter. The correspondence I received was a crafty piece of literature. It portrayed me as a heartless and manipulative villain who, in a fit of vindictiveness, callously terminated financial assistance to coerce his emotionally fragile spouse into compliance. It demanded an immediate reinstatement of all financial support, coverage of her legal expenses, and an exorbitant request for extended spousal maintenance. I promptly forwarded the letter to Victoria, who remained unruffled. It's just a standard shock and awe tactic, she remarked during our phone conversation. They're aiming to intimidate you into a quick settlement. When we received notice about leaving the marital home, we meticulously crafted our response over several days. Our reply was a quiet masterpiece, calmly refuting every claim made against me. We explained that I had responsibly separated our finances based on legal advice after Kelly abandoned our shared residence. We firmly stated that there would be no reinstatement of any funds. In a strategic move, I opted to take a risk and hire a private investigator. Although it came with a hefty price tag and 3 days of surveillance, the outcome proved to be invaluable. The investigator provided a comprehensive report, accompanied by time-stamped photos of Kelly and Zachary coming and going from his apartment on multiple occasions, along with a clear image of them sharing a romantic breakfast on his balcony. The PI's report and a text message from Zachary were attached to our response. We directly addressed the situation by asserting that Kelly had engaged in an adulterous relationship, being the root cause of our separation. However, Victoria, there is more to discuss. I continued with legal action by incorporating a highly impactful motion. We initiated the process of discovery, alleging dissipation of marital assets. It was asserted that Kelly had been utilizing shared funds, which predominantly consisted of my income, to support her extramarital relationship for several months. By issuing subpoenas for her bank statements as well as Zachary's financial records, we aimed to unveil the extent to which my earnings had been expended on gifts, dinners, and trips for him. The repercussions were significant. Approximately a week subsequent to dispatching our reply, I received an unexpected call from an unidentified number. On the other end was Zachary, who had shed his previous composed demeanor and was now expressing nervousness akin to a college student in a distressing situation. Peter, there seems to be a major misunderstanding here, he stuttered. I'm just a tennis coach and I don't want to be entangled in this legal matter. It could tarnish my reputation. Unmoved by his pleas, I responded coolly, there is no misunderstanding, Zachary. Your lawyer has subpoenaed you for a reason. Your personal reputation is your concern, but my financial affairs are not to be disregarded. UPAT. My lawyer has advised me that the thousands of dollars I spent on you, which came from my salary, could be seen as fraudulent activity in my divorce proceedings. You are now considered a material witness in the case and will need to cooperate or face explaining your actions to a judge. The entitlement you have shown is now met with consequences. Kelly and her mother have been constantly calling and leaving emotional voicemails, vacillating between threats and pleas for mercy. The divorce has been finalized, ending a painful chapter in both our lives. In less than 8 months, which Victoria informed me is unusually swift for a contentious divorce, the process did not culminate in a dramatic courtroom showdown. Instead, it unraveled under its own weight. Zachary played a crucial role in this unraveling. Faced with the prospect of a deposition, public scrutiny of his finances, and disclosure of his involvement in the affair under oath, he surrendered completely. His attorney contacted Victoria and proposed providing a comprehensive signed affidavit in exchange for his removal from the legal proceedings. In the affidavit, he disclosed the entire affair, confirming that it had started long before the couple's separation. Desperate to exit the situation, he was prepared to expose Kelly's infidelity and challenge her financial claims. This revelation left Kelly without leverage. Realizing the weakened position, her tenacious lawyer, recognizing a losing and costly battle, strongly urged her to reach a settlement. As a result, we agreed to sell the house considered our primary marital asset, dividing the equity evenly in accordance with state law. My portion of the proceeds was sufficient to acquire a down payment for a cozy, albeit smaller, condominium. Her portion was a significant lump sum, the final one destined for me. The attempt at securing spousal support was unsuccessful, as proof of infidelity and reckless spending of our assets led to the judge granting her just 2 years of modest rehabilitative alimony. This amount barely covers basic rent expenses and is designated for her transition into full-time employment. The fund is now empty. The dissipation of assets claim was validated through bank records, revealing that she had squandered over $15,000 on her extramarital affair. This sum was subtracted from her share of the house equity and awarded to me, essentially recouping the cost of her betrayal. Kelly now resides in a small rented apartment, working as a full-time office manager at a landscaping company. Social media feed is predominantly filled with generic inspirational quotes. After ending his relationship with her when his legal troubles began and struggling to maintain clients at his club, he realized the fragility of reputations. Joyce now supports her financially and emotionally dependent daughter, who is unhappy with their new, less glamorous life. As for me, I am in the process of healing. While the initial months involved navigating legal challenges, once the chaos settled, I was faced with acknowledging the void of the past 15 years. Seeking help from a therapist allowed me to confront the extent of the deception. My focus has shifted from anger to understanding how I became complacent and overlooked warning signs. Finding solace in my new condo, surrounded by my books and a cherished armchair, I take comfort in the routine of brewing coffee each morning using a quirky German coffee maker. This simple pleasure brings more joy than I felt in years. On weekends, I have started hiking, a new activity that Kelly would never have considered. Standing on a ridge overlooking the valley, I experienced a deep sense of peace that almost moved me to tears, contrary to my usual disdain for such moments. This feeling went beyond seeking thrills, resonating with a profound sense of freedom. The rock was no longer a mere anchor for another's vessel, but stood tall as a mountain in its own right.